video. Okay. Right. Well, this is nice. Actually having real life people around the table, as well as people in Zoom. So we start off by saying l'chaim, as always. And so this year, looking at it, if you remember the title of this year was Crafting the Perfect Machlokes and How to Defeat It. Crafting the Perfect Machlokes. So I chose the title with incredible care and genius, because I mean to craft something means to design it perfectly. A machlokes, to be a success, needs design, needs work put into it. And we're going to look at two, which show the features of how to create the perfect machlokes. And of course the second part of the title is on how to defeat it. So tonight I'm guessing all we're going to get to is how to make a good machlokes, which is actually very bad. It's a bad place to stop. We'll start to show you how to defeat it, and next week we'll come back to show you exactly how you go about defeating the perfect machlokes. Okay, so fine.
Why are we creating machlokes?
What?
Why are we creating this machlokes?
Well, it's not. It's like when you learn Gemara Avodah Zorah. You're not learning it in order to do it. You're learning to know how not to do it or how to defeat it when it occurs. Okay, so obviously. Funnily enough, guess where we're starting? In Pirkei Avos, in Perik Hay, in Mishnah Yud Zayin, it says the following thing, which I think we're all rather familiar with. It says, Kol machlokes shehi l'shem shamayim. You show off. Kol machlokes shehi l'shem shamayim. It never occurred to me that rhymes before. That's really quite good. Yeah, Kol machlokes shehi l'shem shamayim. Sofa l'shem. V'she'in l'shem shamayim in a sofa l'shem. And if it's not l'shem shamayim, it's not going to last. So, Ezi machlokes shehi l'shem shamayim. Give me an example, sorry.
In the next Yeshiva Voice Choir album.
That's right. It could make a nice song, actually. What machlokes was l'shem shamayim? And that says the Mishnah here, zu machlokes hila b'shamayim. V'she'en l'shem shamayim zu machlokes korach v'kol avasai. That was the machlokes of Korach and everybody involved in his machlokes. So there's a couple of things to say here which are, I think, relevant. The first one is that both the Barbanel and the pair called the Mishnah Rishonim here in this wonderful, beautiful. What's the publisher here? Also Hodder. They also Hodder Pirkei Avos has got almost everything in it that you could possibly want. He quotes. He brings the Barbanel, cites the Barbanel, and also on top of the Barbanel, he brings, let's say, there's something called Mishnah Rabbi Aaron. Mishnah Rishonim. And the Mishnah Rishonim says something which is worthy of our attention. So let me read this to you. Kol machlokes shehi l'shem shamayim. Ha-machlokes hazayis hi machlokes be'inyan avodas Hashem. We're really talking about a machlokes which is discussing avodas Hashem. We're talking from stuff. We're talking halacha, shkofa, these sorts of things. The Tana is saying she'im hayal l'shem shamayim. If the purpose is l'shem shamayim, well, the kavona toiva and your intention is good. Soif ha-machlokes hilis kam, then the machlokes will last. Rotzulum, that means afapi shekol machlokes garemes pizur v'pered bein hachalokim. That every machlokes, its basic nature, causes some disagreement and some disconnection between the people who are having the argument. It's a matter of two, at least two. It's hard to have a machlokes with yourself. Although I do know some people. But leaving that aside, but generally it's a machlokes between two. So the fact that we disagree causes some disconnect between us. However, machlokes he alone is chayiv peru de pizar bein hachalkim. But this machlokes doesn't cause that disconnection. Why? He says ki lo yidaber echad. I'm trying to find this. Ooh, is it good to hear? Oh yeah, over here. Mehem b'nei machlokes ad shepasuk b'nei avod and machlokes. Their intention is just to find the truth and not to, as it were, disconnect, or there's no anger, there's no personal agenda in this, and then they're very happy. And then he goes on and says the following thing: Somach me'e maimer ze l'kodim. This mimer, this Mishnah, it's not accidental where the Mishnah occurs. There's a Mishnah that comes before that. What does the Mishnah before that say? Kol ahava shi talui b'dover, botel l'dover, botel ahava. It's talking about the nature of love and affection between people. And the classic example, of course, is Yonasan and David. So it's possible to foster. The first Macklokes is talking about love between people. So he says the following thing: some of my there's a connection between and the Alshach, incidentally, his Mahalach and the whole of Pirkei Avos and the whole all of the Mishnayos really, but certainly we've got his Persian and Pirkei Avos. We don't have his Persian in the rest of Shas, although he wrote it. It's probably in the Vatican, buried deeply somewhere away. But certainly his Persian Pirkei Avos links the Mishnayos together. It's not accidental that one will say one and then the second Mishnah says something else. They're connected. So he says, "Somach ma'mazeh l'koydem, ki teva ha'me'anim mechayev liyos b'neihem l'f'amim Macklokes." Because anybody who's going in deeply to any subject, whether it is lahavdil scientists investigating, let's say, the cure for coronavirus. Oh, incidentally, just as a matter of general interest, I was driving along to give the shiur to the ladies last night in the shul. Hello, how are you? I see you. Driving along to give the ladies shiur to the ladies in the shul, and the bottom line I wanted to say was that there is an approach, with particularly the women who never give up in any way with the frequency or intensity that men give up. Hence, they didn't give up at the Egel Azov, and hence they didn't give up when the Meraglim brought back the bad report. I wanted to tell them that the ultimate insurance policy, we've talked about this in our sharing before, says again the Alshach is Chesed. Al Shlosha Devarim Ha'olam Amei. The world stands in three things: Ala Torah, Ala Avodah, and Gimel Chasadim. It says in the first parak of Pirkei Avos, and the Alshach points out that those three things should ring a bell: Torah, Avodah, and Gimel Chasadim. Torah is Yaakov, Avodah is Yitzchak, and Gimel Chasadim is Avram. And that's right. The only thing is, it's therefore not chronological, it's the wrong way around. We should start off with, therefore, Chesed, because that's Avram, he came first, and then Avodah, and then Torah. Why is it reversed? The Alshach says because the ultimate insurance policy, if we fail in the first two, if we fail when it comes to learning Torah, we don't learn Torah with sufficient frequency or and alacrity and dedication, and davening certainly very difficult to get right. But as long as Klal Yisrael is still doing Chesed, it's something we said, if you remember right at the beginning of the coronavirus, when I quoted the Gemara in Bava Kama and Daf Samach on the base, which says, if there is a famine, a dever, be'ir, don't walk in the middle of the street, says the Gemara, because the Malach HaMobis walks in the middle of the street, which obviously can't be taken literally because angels are not tied to physical location. What it means, if you remember this, I can't remember who, but some Litvisha Dayan in his parish said that the ultimate and ideal Jewish derech is the Yiddish phrase is the mitlische derech. Yeah. Right. In the middle of the road, balance. Not to the right, not to the left. However, he says, when it comes to a matter of a dever in the city, then there is an implication that you should move a little to the right. And how, in what way? He says tzedakah and chesed. Tzedakah and chesed, then you turn up the volume. That's right, outdo yourself. And that is the ultimate insurance policy. So I wanted to say to the ladies, having gone into the whole shiur last night, and I'd already constructed the shiur, that the ultimate insurance policy is chesed, and we should, as the women of the community, have got an obligation, as it were, and to make sure your husbands don't despair. Just get them working on the Indian of Chesed. Tzedakah, we might not have so much money at the moment. A lot of people have lost income, but you don't need money to give somebody a smile or a kind word. Chesed is not defined so narrowly. But driving to stay the shiur, I was listening to BBC World Service, I think it was, and they were interviewing a very famous American doctor called Dr. Robert Gallo. And Ali's nodding; he knows what it is. Very interesting. Has anybody here heard of Robert Gallo? Well, he's the head virologist and the founder of the Virology Institute at I think Maryland University, if I remember correctly. And it was he who discovered the connection between AIDS and HIV. HIV is a virus, right? He's a virologist. It was him that discovered that particular virus causes this. Also, it's called, I can't remember exactly what AIDS stands for, but we all know what it does, which is terrible.
Autoimmune deficiency.
Thank you, syndrome. That's right, autoimmune deficiency syndrome. Thanks so much. and he discovered that it was HIV, this virus, that was causing this. And so he said last night, which was incredibly interesting, he said, and I think that the even though they've not yet developed what do you call it, vaccine, that's the word, a vaccine for corona, he says one already exists. The polio virus, or rather the polio vaccine. The polio vaccine is there to combat the polio virus. Corona is a virus. And he said, I can't prove it. He says, I can't prove anything in science, but I am absolutely confident that until we develop a specific vaccination that will target specifically corona, then the cure for polio, the vaccine for polio, he says, which used to be given in a sugar lump, a little drop put in a sugar lump, in my days it was, it's a piece of cake. Now, it won't last forever. It does last forever, or for a very long time, decades, if you're combating polio, because it's designed for polio, specifically. But it might only last, and indeed I didn't know, and he said, there are tests happening now for this, and it seems to be extremely promising. It might only last 6 months, but it's only a tablet that costs 10 cents. A little pill that costs 10 cents. Then fine. After 6 months, you'll take another one. We can keep taking these until they find a vaccine which is completely workable. And I was so excited because I was listening to this in the car driving to the shear, and it was a perfect morsel to begin the shear with. It's an old cure for a new situation. That's physically, that's medically. In Ruchnius is an old cure for a new situation, which is chesed. So it works very, very nicely together. Anyway, back to this. He says, so this mission in Pirkei Avos very nicely connects to the previous one. Because anybody, let's think of Dr. Gallo and other scientists working in his lab, then they're going deeply into it. They might obviously come to a different conclusion. It's that chilad medicine. It might be because of their intellect. It might be because of their temperament, their nature, and their cleverness or lack thereof. That each one has come to proper conclusions as a consequence of trying to find the answer to the problem. But it really depends where that's going to go on the attitude of the people who are having the fight or having the argument. If it's the case that each of the two doctors or scientists or whatever it is are only interested in finding the emes, then of course the two groups will still be friends. It's just that they see things differently, and all they're interested in finding the truth. And if you get a better solution, that's fine. Of course, if their temperament is one of jealousy, etc., then it's going to be different. But now he goes back to talking about the Torah. That if the attitude of two sides in an argument, a Hillel and a Shammai, is to find the truth and nothing but the truth, then the Rabban Hashem, and Hashem will help them, and they're able to find the emes.
When Hillel and Shammai had Macklokes,
yeah.
They reached the conclusion that was unilaterally.
No. Shammai would pass on Shammai, but they would accept that the Pesach for the rest of Klal Yisrael would be like Hillel. So he says the following thing. But if his attitude is, I want to show that I'm the big knacker, I'm the clever one here, etc., then but if your attitude is not Hashem Shemayim, and you're not trying to come to the emes, but rather you're trying to show off your intellect over somebody else, then you're going to lose that siyata d'shmaya, and it can happen to you what happened to Korach. Now, there's nothing wrong with Korach's argument, he writes. The argument was sound. Klal Yisrael is full of Kedoshim. All the Jews of the Dor Dea and Dor Midbar were very great. Lama yichad shevet bilti shevet ish bilti ish l'dari doras l'yaz nivcha lo b'das Hashem. But why should therefore one set of Klal Yisrael, subset of Klal Yisrael, or any individual in Klal Yisrael, be given a position of kahuna that would last for all the generations? What's wrong with the rest of us? Velu And had only Hoyad Bederach Shaila Tanas Honos, had he asked it as a question to Moshe Rabbeinu, is a perfectly legitimate question and position to reach. And then Moshe Rabbeinu would have given him an answer. But of course he doesn't come from a position of, what's the answer to this? It was a statement. Now this is, I'm glad you said that. That's very, very interesting. If I anything else I wanted to Meiri here. Oh, so just to remind us, the Meiri says, if I can find the Meiri, yeah, surely I underlined this. I did. Aren't I good? So he says, like Korach, but also it says the Meiri in his page, Shaboy the cantor, he came to provoke, Al Moshe Rabbeinu Levasham, Va'al Han Hogosei Medera Kila the cantor Manatzach. He came through jealousy, and he came through provocation, but and he was going to win the fight. And there was no attempt to find the truth here. Oh, well, that's very interesting. I don't know if you were all here last week, but when they went into the Alshach in depth, it was the Alshach Shir. I don't know if you saw the Alshach Shir. I'm sorry, anytime last week, or on my own YouTube channel. But however, we all know what Rashi says there, that really the whole provocation was because, the whole Macklokes was because Korach was upset because the youngest son of Kohath was appointed, Elitzophan ben Uziel was appointed to be the head of the family, the Kati family, and that upset him. So it starts from jealousy. He starts from jealousy. Is he aware of that jealousy? I doubt it. People at that level, we're talking there and working in the subconscious level. But at that level, that was talking the source. And if that's the source, as the Meiri says, then we're going to be in trouble.
He was vocal about that.
Sorry?
He was very vocal about being passed over.
I don't think he says this locally. Where does he say that?
Rashi.
Oh, Rashi says that. That's right. It doesn't say in the Bible.
He told Moshe, says, okay, your father was Aaron. He's the oldest member of the family. Aaron took the Gazzola, you took Malchus.
I can't remember. I don't think that. I don't think he actually says that. I think he said to himself that. But again, did he say it to himself consciously or was it subconsciously? Rabbi Dess tends to suggest subconsciously. I'll have a look. You could well be right. I'm sure you are actually. Okay, fine. Then Rashi says there, certainly as you say, he's Niskana. He's jealous over the appointment of Elitzophan ben Uziel. And then, we now have somebody else joining us. Binyamin Pelch. Hello, Binyamin. How are you? Could you switch off? Excellent. If you switch on your mic, good man. Switch off the microphone. That's great. Okay. No, fine. No, so far so good. So if you start, your position is no. In other words, there's no difficulty whatsoever to having a disagreement. It depends where the disagreement is coming from and what the disagreement is moving to. Now there's a Gemara in Gittin. And the Gemara in Gittin is the one that we're all familiar with because we're moving into the time of the year when we recall exactly how disastrous Macklokes can be, and in fact was. And that's of course the Gemara in Gittin in Nun-Hey. And there, when the Gemara talks about, of course, Kamsa and Bar Kamsa, it says the following thing. Let's just remind ourselves. Omer Rabbi Yochanan, my Diksiv, why did it say this in Nun-Hey on the base? Omer Rabbi Yochanan, my Diksiv, Asher Adam Pachid Tomid. Happy is the person who's always afraid. Makasha Liba Yipal Bara, and he's scared that he will slip up and getting himself involved in trouble. A Kamsa Bar Kamsa Chorv Yerushalayim. Because the Kamsa and Bar Kamsa Chorv Yerushalayim, the Marshaw says very distressingly, it was a father and a son. Ulai, what makes sense, Kamsa and Bar Kamsa, and the whole story fits in. I think he says it as an Esher and an Ulai. But anyway, a Kamsa Bar Kamsa Chorv Yerushalayim, a Tarnagol, but Tarnagol is Chorv Tur Malcolm. So therefore he says, let's move to the Kamsa Bar Kamsa. Okay, a Kamsa Bar Kamsa Chorv Yerushalayim, the Hu Gabra the Rachmi Kamsa. There's a fellow whose best friend was called Kamsa, about the Dovi, Bar Kamsa, and his enemy was Bar Kamsa. Now we don't know the name of the fellow. It gets a bit confusing, so let's call him George. So there's a fellow called George, and his best friend was Kamsa, and if we're learning it like the Marshaw, but Bar Kamsa's son, he hated his guts. Robert Sudasa, he made a Suda, Omer and Shmei, and he said to when we serve it, whatever, Zil also be Kamsa, go and get me Kamsa, and of course, because of the similarity of the names, etc., he brings Bar Kamsa. Disaster. And everybody knows what happens after that. Total disaster, unpleasant to put it mildly. Zabi, hi, how are you? Switch off your microphone, please. And that's the famous story there. Now, I've got to tell you what the Morale of Prague has to say there. Do I want to go to the Morale of Prague at this stage? Yes, I did. Yeah. So the Morale of Prague says something very, very deep. First of all, the name Kamsa and Bar Kamsa. Father and son, certainly, you could suppose, but the name Kamsa itself is problematic. Have you ever heard of somebody called Kamsa?
They probably ruined it, like Adolf is not popular anymore.
I never thought of that. The Morale of Prague is a slightly different explanation, and he says, when you consider what the word Kamsa means, it's a word. He says, the word Kamsa itself suggests Macklokes. Right? So that would be Kamsa and Bar Kamsa. That doesn't. He's not going with the father and son thing. He's saying, but they were one was one side of the Macklokes and one was the other side of the Macklokes. It takes two from Macklokes. And Kamsa comes from the word Kamitsa, the meal offering. The fellow puts his hand into the flour like this. With his thumb he did this. With his pinky he did this. And what was left, that tiny amount of flour, that was the meal offering. Kamitsa is to take a little from a large. This was Kamsa and Bar Kamsa. But, the Morale says, very intriguingly, the derech v'yishlech l'zbanim ma asa Kamsa. What's this whole story? Why was it so bad that Yerushalayim was destroyed? So obviously this was merely symptomatic of the sort of illnesses that the rot had set in amongst Clan Israel. And as I said last week in the share, the famous American philosopher Will Durant said, very sadly, very pertinent for the United States of America at the moment, but he said that no civilization is conquered from without until it has first destroyed itself from within. And that's certainly pertinent for Klal Yisrael. So Klal Yisrael at that time was so rotten, so filled with no longer believing in themselves to know which way to go, then they were wide open for attack. But he says, but when there is a place where there's sinas chinam, it's the derech to get allies, to create a party, to create a camp, to fight against the others. The party that's here, what's this whole story that Kamsa, or George, has a party which he wants to invite Kamsa to? Why is George, who hates Bar Kamsa, why does he have a party? Because you need allies. If you're going to have a fight, you need allies. To stand up on your own and start a fight, that's going to be problematic. But a person needs allies.
He had the party so that he could have allies. It wasn't incidental.
No, it wasn't incidental. In fact, I've just got a letter over on the table there from Donald J. Trump, who wrote to me personally, asking me for money. And that's quite a chutzpah because I don't have any. But anyway, but whenever I look at YouTube or anything like that, there appears some old guy. Hello, everybody. My name is.
What is that?
And he wants money as well. Everybody wants money, but they need recruits. For a Macklokes, for a fight, you need allies on both sides. Okay. Right. So far, so good. Let's move to the story of Korach. The answer here is absolutely astonishing, but I've got to, before I take you to there, take you to here. This is the Kerem HaTzvi. That's the rabbi. Very unusual to have pictures of rabbis on the book, but there you go. Look at my two cameras. Ritzi Hirschferber, the first Manchester Rosh Hashiva, a Gaon, an incredibly brilliant man. And he points to an interesting question in Rashi. Rashi asks, Korach, who was a pikeach, who was a clever fellow, what did he see to get involved in this nonsense? And he asks, an incredibly interesting question. Why asking the question of Korach? The other 250 people who were the heads of Sanhedrin Reuven were not idiots either. So why not say, what did all of them want to get involved in this for? They're all clever fellows. Sorry?
Rashi's talking in the words of Torah.
Yeah, but again, if he's questioning his motivation, why not question their motivation?
The Torah doesn't
Yes, the Torah does not stress that. That is true. However, he does. And he says something which I thought was absolutely stupendously clever. I never thought of this before. He says when somebody is chayv misa, they execute the fellow straight away. The halakha says execute the person straight away. Do you know why? I mean, obviously, you don't want the person to suffer. We're not, like in Texas, people are in death row for 40 years and then they take them out and electrocute them or whatever they do to them. Sounds a little bit. There's better ways to do things. But there's another reason. Let's see if I can find this. Gosh, mine after me, no, that's the wrong one. Oh, where is it? Oh, I can't find it. Oh, yeah. Korsha Pekeachoya, Marala Strussa. Korak was a clever fellow. Why does he get involved in this nonsense? Ain't of Hetosai Rosh or Shellis Gadrela. I think I can find this. I have to tell you this out loud because I can't find it. I didn't make a note. Disastrous, hopeless rabbi. He says the following thing. The reason that you take the fellow out and execute him straight away is because so he should not do anything else bad. Because what else can they do to me? I saw this actually, somebody sent this on YouTube, some stupid girl was in front of a judge for something or other, and she was chutzpahdik to him. So he gave her a $5,000 contempt thing. So she was even more chutzpahdik to him. So she made it 10,000, and when she walked away, she said something very inappropriate language which we don't use. And he said, "Did you say beep beep to me?" "Yeah, right. 30 days in prison." Right. So that was a perfect example of what he's saying here. That a person who's, you can't kill me twice, so I can do whatever I want. You rabbis, you don't make sick, or whatever. They've got nothing to lose. They've got nothing to lose. Because they're already toast. They're already dead. Why? Because after the mice of the Meraglim, they're all going to die in the desert. Now we know why I'm involved in this. They don't want to die in the desert. And therefore, it's obvious. The question is, Kairach was a Pekiach. He's from Shevet Levi. Shevet Levi didn't believe the Meraglim. They're going in. Oh, the question's to him, not for the rest of them. Sadly, they're going to make a mess of things now, but okay, let's leave that aside. The Alshach here takes us on a tour of how to make a Macklokes. And it's very interesting. I've seldom written so much on the sides, you can see that, of my Alshach as here, because I knew, I got so excited when I saw this, that this was going to become a very interesting share. So, fine. So, Oin Ben Pelish, what's his story? And what happens with Korach, we already saw from last week, it came from jealousy. So we know what's his trajectory, even if he's not consciously aware of it. Let me just remind you that Rabbi Yerucham says in Parshas Tazria that Tuma has Simonim. Tuma has Simonim. So he's talking there about Tuma. I mean, the Torah is talking about Tuma. And here he says, Tuma has Simonim. He says, he gives a moshel, if you've got a shack, in the Catskills, if you live in a shack, right? But the shack, instead of being full of Jews, is full of green. And of course the wall, Chaim's not in the shack, by the way. He's got a very nice house, I can see here. Yeah, you should go. Ask Chaim if you can stay the night. Don't go to the shack. But the wooden boards, if it's full of green, some of the green will pop out, he says. And you'll see from the outside, because Tuma has Simonim. Okay? If there's green, if there's a shack or a hut which is used for storing grain, inevitably some of the grain that's inside one or two will pop out. Right? And therefore there's grain inside. If somebody is rotten in the inside, even though they're trying to hide it, it will come out. It seeps out. Okay? So that's incredibly important. So he says, with regards to because it's one of the strangest things of all. Why is it that he's a Pekiach, that he goes to Moshe Rabbeinu, and again, if he's a Pekiach, he knows that Rabbi Yerucham. Rabbi Yerucham hadn't said it, but he knows that. Well, let me tell you, Ramat Zion, many years ago, there was a famous Macklokes in Manchester when I was living there, and Ramat Zion came and he was giving a shiur in a show called the Oihel Torah, which was my old show. No, I wasn't the rabbi. I mean, I was the Davening, is what I mean. The rabbi was Dayan Wise, the Minchas Yitzchok. Mm-hmm. So that's what they took him instead of me. I mean, not a lot to say about this. Dayan Wise had already gone to Manchester, gone to Yerushalayim to be the head of the Eibuch Beis Din, and Rabbi Moshe Ellenson, the Tzaddik Yivrocha, had taken over him. Taken over from him. He's a huge Talmud Chacham, sadly no longer with us. But there was a big Macklokes in Manchester. And Matzio came and addressed the Kehillah. And of course, being very clever, like most Gedolim, he kept his message for a subtle sting in the tail at the end of the drosha. You know, just gives this normal drosha. It's going, and then he, right at the end, he said, and if you want to know if a Macklokes is L'Shem Shamayim or not, simply ask yourself the following question. It's a bit like we just saw earlier on when we were looking at Pirkei Avos. If you're really in search of the truth and you believe that your side of the argument is right and you're only interested in the truth, and somebody disagrees with you, and you know it's got to a clash of views, ask yourself the question: do you ever daven for the other fellow? You're convinced that you've found the truth. You're shaman, you're healer, right? So, and that's going to be the Shem. Fine. I think I'm right. He thinks he's right. I know I'm right. I don't know why he doesn't see it. Brother shall let him see the truth. Do you ever daven for the other side? Or do you just hate his guts, as the English phrase says so poetically? If you don't feel yourself davening for the other side, if it's personal, then there's a seemance that the bits of corn popping between the boards of the shack and the storehouse, it comes out, it shows you that there's something wrong here. So, if he's a pikeach, what does he do, this pikeach? He must know. I mean, if I'm in a machlokes with somebody, and I'm certainly not in that madriga, and they really annoy me, and go all Scottish, then it's a seeming to me that, you know, maybe I'm not 100% a malach in this machlokes. So what does he do, knowing this? He goes to Moshe, he says, this blue cloth here, does it need tzitzis or not? And to which, yeah, thank you for, yes, we're seeing the cat's blue. This has been noted, Rabbi Katz, that you're wearing blue in your tzitzis. You Zionist Jew, you're out of here. Anyway, so basically, Gateshead. Real Haredi, yeah. Hardcore, Haredi light. Anyway, where was that to? Yes, sorry, didn't carry it. Yeah, so he holds this big blue, thank you very much, he's prompting me here. He holds this big blue piece of cloth up, and he says, does this need tzitzis or not? Moshe Ben says it needs tzitzis. And he goes, yeah, oh yeah. One thread passes a garment, you know, from, and then, you know, fine. What about a room full of svarim? Does it need a mezuzah or not? Yes, it needs a mezuzah. Yeah, right. I mean, how many letters, how many words are there in the mezuzah, and that fulfills the obligation? If the whole house is full of svarim, it needs right. It's certainly a semen that it's not kosher. It's making litzonos, no? So why? So listen to this. This is such genius. When you're making a machlokes, you need allies. Stand up there on your own and start a fight, then everybody will just think you're a nut. No, you're a nut job. Okay. Listen to what the Alshik says here. Incredible thing. So what happens? What happens is the Korah comes and Dosav Aviram, Oin Bepelis' wife saves him, and 250 heads of the Sanhedrin. And let's focus on those different, and every time, or maybe I'll bother with this anyway, the Alshik is Medaic, the way it writes. It's talking about how they come in, almost as an afterthought. But listen to this. So Korach, Dosav, Aviram, their minds seem to be made up. Well, next week we'll talk about the fact, because remember, the first part of the Shir is how to make the machlokes, how to deal with it and dismantle the bomb. That's next week. But certainly Moshe Rabbeinu does try to do that. But watch. They're of one mind, they are against Moshe. Well, listen, it's brilliant. But the other 250, they're not yet committed. They've not yet jumped into the fight. At the moment, they're spectators. They're holding back. Okay. So Korah, what does he do? Their situation is a bit like the situation of Achitophel and Avshalom. Avshalom, of course, right, there's a terrible story of David Melech, whose son turns against him, and Achitophel gives him a piece of advice as to how to get your Macklokes on course. Again, it's a Macklokes, a real Macklokes, a masterpiece, is crafted. People won't commit to your cause unless they're sure that the cause is something which is going to last. And not, but not if they think it's a father and a son, they're fighting just now, but what happens in families? You know, there's a fight and then there's reconciliation. So if we're stupid enough to join Avshalom, then, and the father and son make up, we're toast. We are the guys standing outside, right? Because they've made peace, and then Yiskadal v'Yiskadash us. Yishar b'Bushim v'Vanim b'Kol Yisrael. They will be the disgrace of the whole Jewish people, and rejected by the Jewish people, probably killed. Zulus Mashachai v'Es Rosham l'Melech. Alken Yatz Achitophel Yova El Palakshi Ovi. So a terrible piece of advice, but go and do something absolutely disgraceful. Go and assault. Let's translate it that way. David Melech's concubine. Can't find the English word. But Malcolm Royim Alagai in a way that people can see it. It's a public thing, right? So that people will know there's no reconciliation with that. He's gone a step too far. In which case, then they realize this is a real Macklokes. It's two sides that are not going to be reconciled, and therefore people will choose, and you'll be able to recruit to your side.
Why would one want to choose Avshalom in such a hangman?
That's another whole big shayla. But we know that they did.
Korah didn't do anything out of
Wait, wait, let's get together. And then people will say, right, that's it. He's taking this seriously. Now's the time to join up. Choose your side. And in the same way, the exact same mindset, psychology applies to 250 men here. 250 men from Shevet Reuven, they're hedging their bets. Maybe his first cousin and he will make up, and we are toast. But now when they see that Korah goes and speaks to Moshe with such disrespect and such insult and laughs in his face, then they know he's serious. And then they're not going to back up. So therefore, stage one, I've written here in English, stage one is to get others to commit. But stage two is to make sure that they commit in a way that they can't back out. Right? You've got to show them that you're taking this seriously. There's not going to be a reconciliation, so that they'll be willing to jump into the fray, hopefully on your side. You must have people in mind. That's what we learned from Kamsa Bar Kamsa. He wants allies. He takes the Yika Korach, as you pointed out from Rashi, he takes allies. They're not quite sure if they're going to get into this fight yet. So the first thing he has to do is to make sure, because it's ridiculous. I mean, you're showing that you've got a seaman tool, and you must have known that. But you could obviously factor that out, because I have to do this in order to make sure that I have allies, because my fight is 100% Lashem Shemayim. And let me just remind you, maybe you'll remind me actually, because I've forgotten who it is. But there is, what Hasidic Rebbe, we talked about this not too long ago, some Hasidic Rebbe said that he was a Gilgal 3 times his present life. Before his first time, he was one of the rams at Kedah Yitzchok. Don't know what that means. Apparently, there's more than one ram, and he was one of them. And the second time, he was at the Macklokes of Korach. To which the Sorry?
Who's him?
One of the Hasidic rabbis. Right. To which, I think that may have been the Bedichevra. It may have been the Bedichevra. Somebody big. To which he said, the Hasidim said to him, of course you were obviously in Moshe's side. So he said no.
He said no, couldn't tell who.
Yeah, he said no. Do you know who it was? Can you remember? You also forgot.
Maybe Yismach Moshe, I don't remember.
I think it was Yismach Moshe, maybe that's ringing a bell, yeah, okay. Then they said to him, you were on Korah's side? No. I was neutral. But you should know to have been neutral at that Macklokes was to be in an extremely high madriga. It was not apparent. It was not apparent who was right and who was wrong. Remember, Korah carries the Oren HaKodesh. He's one of the 4 people that carries the Oren HaKodesh. Or rather, it carries him.
Moshe speaks to Hashem.
Sorry?
Moshe Rabbeinu speaks to Hashem.
Oh, and that's he spoke to me as well. Says Korah. He spoke to all of us. Call them Kedoshim. We all heard Hashem speak. Now you're right. It's a bit strange. And remember, if you've got a personal agenda, you're not going to be able to see the truth.
You had to have been pure because those that carried the Aron had to have been pure.
Right.
They would perish.
Right. At this stage, and up to now, it's not yet the die is not yet cast. Right. And we're going to see how Moshe Rabbeinu is trying to pull him back from the edge. There's still a way out of this, but he's certainly constructing his argument or his Macklokes in the way that it won't be retrievable, so they can go ahead. Okay, but as then it says for Yakuma, they come and join them as well. So he's thrown his hat into the ring, and now he's got his allies, and he's positioned the allies to be able to know he's serious about this, so they join. Now, the 250 see 2 things. 1, people are going to turn around and say, what's it got to do with you? Why are you getting involved in a fight? This is not your business, right? Korach wants the kahuna. He wants it to be the Kohen Gadol. Fine, that's his business. Okay. 2, Shenif, when the rest of the Jewish people see these 250 standing against Moshe and Aaron, bearing in mind Moshe is their Rebbe, and there are 3 people we can't insult, right? And one of them is a person's wife, another one is his Rebbe. You're likely to get, if you insult somebody's Rebbe, then they could get killed for this. Therefore, Al Ha'echad Omru Rav Lechem. So what did they turn around and say? Rav Lechem, you've taken too much on yourself. Lamar Lal Yaruchem Ki Al Dabar Korach Belvad Al Kunas Anu coming. The 250 guys, 50 people are saying, we're not here just because Korach wants to be the Kohen Gadol. No. Don't think that's what it's all about. No, we're not here for his agenda. We're here for your agenda. We are in your side. Rav Lechem Shanatantam said, because Reeve Law, it's not our fight. You've taken too much of yourself, you've taken away from the rest of the people. Second of all, Shani's, then in order to guard themselves, again, when people are going to turn around and say that, you've attacked Moshe, not at all, we're not attacking Moshe. We're protecting the Koved of Klal Yisrael, and we are protecting Koved Shemayim. I'll read this bit to you. They have the cleverness to flatter the collective nature of Klal Yisrael. If Moshe and Aaron are Kedoshim, which they are, but so is the whole of the Jewish people. That were gathered against Moshe and Aaron, it's not for us. We're worried about your cause. Again, now here's another factor in the Macklokes. You mustn't show your hand. It's a poker game. You mustn't let them know what you really want. I'm here for you. And you think I want to be the president of the United States of America? No! I'm doing this thing. In fact, in one of Donald Trump's letters to me, he writes a lot. He says they've been attacking me all the time, but much worse, they've been attacking you. It's a classic act, a classic move. So the pieces, the army or the pieces in the chessboard are starting to move in a classic way. It's a classic Macklokes. but we've only scraped the surface. We'll come back to this next week, and we'll see how Moshe rates. So this is the beginnings of how you start a classic Macklokes. We'll see how Moshe Rabbeinu tries to defuse the bomb, unsuccessfully, obviously. And certainly makes us a shadow on how you should react if, chas v'shalom, you ever find yourself in a Macklokes by copying Moshe's approach.